Hello, it's 1 o'clock. My name is Elize Hatton, and we are coming to you live from the Smart Hub. Well, not from the Smart Hub, virtually from the Smart Hub. I'm joined by Kaleb Roberts from Get Australia Online. And for those of you who have been following along with our Get It Done in Business series, today's HubLive is all about digital marketing. And we want to discuss some of the questions that we've been receiving and also give you the opportunity to ask digital marketing questions just so that we can have a bit of a more interactive conversation around digital marketing and why it's so important. I think COVID has definitely highlighted the fact that we all in business, every single person in business needs some kind of online presence, and we all need a way to engage with our customers in the virtual world. So that's exactly what we're talking about today. Hello, Mr. Kaleb, how are you?
I'm excellent, Elize. Thank you for having me here today.
So cool. So is Australia getting online, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Australia and Central Queensland, more importantly, is getting online, and I think we're all understanding the importance of that. Hey, Sam, Leah, Wayne, thank you so much for joining us today. We're speaking all things digital marketing, and really today is a live Q&A session. So we're putting myself and Kaleb on the spot to see if we can help you out with any of your digital marketing challenges. So how about we get started? Sam, Leah, Wayne, please ask any questions. Just put that in the comments and we'll be able to answer those for you. Well, hopefully we'll be able to answer those for you. So let me ask the first question, Kaleb.
You're on.
So why do we all need all this kind of digital marketing channels? So let's just start by defining what digital marketing is and what being online means. And then tell me why people are thinking, well, I need a website and I probably need Facebook and Instagram and Shopify, and how does all of that work? So start by defining digital marketing and what that means and why that's important.
So digital marketing, as I understand it, is any form of marketing material or any sort of awareness, engagement, however you're engaging with potential customers through a computer, through your phone, if my phone disappears there, iPad, etc. It's all the digital tech, right? So if you want to be seen on the screen, digital marketing is how your customers actually find you there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So a really, really interesting kind of comment is that in every era, customers behave in a very specific manner. And the way in which customers are behaving now is they are on their smartphones. That is what I'm trying to get mine not to disappear. But that is what they are doing. And they are on their computers. Yep, there we go. iPads and other devices. I think all the research now shows that adults have multiple devices, and often they'll be engaging with us through multiple devices, even while they're watching television. So, and I don't know about you, but I see my family doing that too. You're in front of the telly, but you also have your phone and you have your iPad, and you're kind of watching 3 screens at the same time, consuming multiple content. You might find something that you want to purchase on your phone, and then you might transition onto your laptop to finish that engagement. So the customers are behaving in a specific way. And if we in business don't respond to what our customers are doing, we won't be in business for a very long time. So that's why we need to master digital marketing. Yeah?
Very much so. And so for any business, in order for it to have a customer, the customer has to very first become aware of that business. If one of the most, as you just said, the most effective way for somebody to become aware, we Google things, as I hold up my invisible phone again. We look online, we search for some place with really good reviews or something that looks really good. If we're going to a restaurant and I want to take my partner out to dinner, I'm going to look for the restaurant that has the highest reviews in my area. If that restaurant isn't online, if they don't have a presence there and they're not reviewed, I'm not even going to know they exist. They're going to be as invisible as my phone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really great analogy. Hey, Ross, thank you for watching. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm here with Kaleb Roberts, and we're talking about being online and why that is so important. And essentially, we know we have to be where our customers are, and our customers are online on their devices and also on their computers. So if you're in business and you don't have an online presence that is representing your business well and makes it easy for your customer to find you and interact with you, you pretty much have a big problem because you're invisible.
You're absolutely invisible. They can't see you. They can't find you. They don't know you're there. And I was read a paper recently that said that 87% of Australian businesses are missing out on, sorry, was it 87% of businesses are missing out on something like 50, 60% of traffic of potential customers because the customers are going first their devices. They're not walking down the mall. They're not walking down these industrial parks. They're looking and researching first. So
Yeah.
back in 1950, somebody would research in the newspaper, and newspaper advertising was predominant. In 1920, it was the radio. Before that, it was smoke signals. But now we're digital technology, using our phones and everything else. So that's why
That's
that's
cool.
important. And that's kind of what those marketing channels are all about. They're just building
Okay.
awareness so people can find your business.
Nice. Okay, so there's a lot of jargon in this space, and I'm just going to ask you to define some of the jargon, or maybe together we can kind of just use plain English to talk about what these things are. So when we say channels, what do we mean?
So a channel is also known as a platform. So it can be Facebook, it can be website. It's the particular avenue your customer is taking to become aware of you. So that could be through Google, that could be through Instagram, that could be through YouTube. Each one of those is a channel.
Okay, so imagine if we can imagine our own behavior and think about where you put your eyes on the screen and what you type when you're looking for a solution to a problem, like I want to take my partner out to dinner. You might go to Facebook first and say, hey, can you recommend a really nice restaurant, or do you know who's open, and ask your friends? Or you might go to Google and you might Google, you know, restaurants in Rockhampton that serves Italian food, just as an example. And so all of those different, where you go, all of those different ways to find things, those are all called digital channels.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Now we have our first question from Leah. How do you determine the best place to market, i.e. Facebook, Google, Instagram, and are there any other options? What a great question. So which channel should we be on?
So I think that's very business dependent, and it depends on your business and your customers. For a restaurant, who knows that people Google to search for them because they want to know opening hours, they want to know the reviews, they want to see everything, they want to look through pictures of the meals. Facebook's probably a really good choice. Controversially, if you're a tire mechanic and you're needing to just build more awareness and get people to engage with you, Google is a really good place because people aren't going to search Facebook for tire fitters. That doesn't come organically. It's kind of a square and round hole type thing. So you have to have a really clear understanding of your audience and what they're doing to look for you. And that's your platform or your channel of choice to start on. And then you obviously have Facebook, as mentioned, websites, and you can get really creative with this. I think it's the grammar school up on the hill is now on Spotify because they know people are dropping their kids off through cars and listening to Spotify through the car radio. So they've got ads running through that channel. If there's a digital platform, you can get creative with it. Does that help?
That is awesome. Okay, Travis, Matthew, thank you for joining us. We're having a live Q&A session about all things digital. So how to create a digital presence and why to create a digital presence for your business online. So please feel free to ask questions and we'll do our best to answer those questions. So I just had a meeting with Drew before, and we were discussing what the Smart Hub is doing. And we were saying, well, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitter. So we're using 5 channels. And he made the comment, wow, will these channels ever end? Like there are just so many channels. And I think we mentioned 2 more now, Spotify, TikTok, and I'm sure there are others that we might not even be aware of or can't think of right now.
Snapchat's still a great one for people targeting
Snapchat,
millennials.
yeah.
That's still really effective.
And then, of course, there's your website too. So there's just Google and your website. And then there are other ways. You can even have channels through other people's websites by having banners on other people's websites. Yep. So there are numerous ways in which you can get to your customers to become aware of you and then come to you. But I think there's another thing that's really important, Kaleb, and that's about gathering the customers that you do have in a place. So instead of talking about new customers, talking about your existing customers and bringing them together in a bit of a community, and then forming a group and conversing with them and adding value to them and creating a community. And we have channels for that. Facebook groups is a really great one.
Very much so.
What are your thoughts around, talking to your existing customers?
So I think that's probably the single best source and wealth of knowledge of how to base your future actions. If you can get your customers together in a Facebook group, you can actively pitch new ideas to them and say, hey, I have this great idea. Let me sell you this big new shiny thing. But what do you think about it? Give me your feedback. Do you like it in blue? Do you like it in green? Do you like it in square? Do you like it in round? And you can do this with multiple products. So your current and existing customers feel really trusted. They feel loved and appreciated because you're actually asking for their input. I don't know the last time a company asked me for my input, but it's pretty cool when they do. The top of that, you have instant validation of, this product that you're looking at selling will actually work with your current audience, and therefore people like them into what we call a lookalike audience. And you can build and grow with that. And it's just a cool place to chat and hang out with people. These are the people who have fallen in love with your business. So odds are they're going to be able to give you some really good feedback on things you can improve on, things you can do better, and just make your business all around that much more appealing.
Nice. Hey, Jay, thank you for watching. Great to see you here. Okay, and a question from Travis. Given all the platform choices, could a website be a good foundation to help them all together?
Well, Travis, I think that's a really good question. And my first answer is absolutely yes. If all of these digital channels, and you will look at them as waterways, are little channels that customers filter in through, your website can be a really solid hub in which everything lives. That's where you put your content and your creation. You say, this is exactly what my business is doing. This is how we're doing it. This is who we want to work with. And this is our pricing, our structure. Oh, by the way, here's a click now, buy now, act on this special offer. So you can drive your customers from Facebook to a website to making a sale very, very quickly.
Nice. And so when we say, I always want to circle back to Leah's question, what is the best place to be on? Really, the best place is where your customers are, but the best place is all of these channels. If you could have the hub as your website and then have a presence on the majority of the channels, then you're not missing out on any traffic anyway.
Very much so, which comes back down to having a very specific customer target, and you're very clear on exactly who is your customer, and even more importantly, who's not your customer, because otherwise you're literally going to be putting money into a platform that's not giving you return, and that's horrible. So let's avoid that.
Okay, and I think that's probably key. So marketing 101, identify your ideal customer and build an avatar. So before you even think about getting online or creating your online presence or improving your online presence, take a piece of paper or open a Word document and really outline who is your ideal customer and create an avatar. And the word avatar is essentially just a person that represents a group of people who represents your ideal customer. And you might have 1 or 2 or 3 avatars, no more than 3 or 5. 3 to 5, I think, is probably the max. So. Yeah, but and then you start talking to those people and you ask, where are they? Where are they looking?
And you want to know them down to, are they married? Are they single? Do they have kids? What kind of music do they listen to? You want to know them as well as you know your best friend, because that way you can create advertising and create your website or your channels all directly to speak to that core person. So if you find somebody similar to that core person, they're going to fall in love with you over and over and over again. And somebody who's not necessarily your ideal customer, they might as well, or they would drop off, but that's totally okay. So.
Absolutely. Okay, so where do you start? Let's say you have no online presence. I think we should go to both of the scenarios, but let's start with, I'm a business, I'm in Rockhampton. I have obviously been impacted by the COVID situation and isolation. I now realize that I need an online presence. What should I build first? Now, okay, I've created my avatar. I know who my ideal customer is by looking at the customers I already serve and creating a picture of a person that represents that group of people. Where should I start?
So once you have that target very clearly identified, I would spend some time spending and writing out what's the goal of having an online presence. What target do you want people to hit? How will you measure success? Don't create an online presence just for the sake of being online. Create it with a mission and a goal in mind. So if the goal was to get bookings for an appointment for somebody to come in and see a law firm, for example, I would be very clear and very intentional with everything I wrote when building a website in something such as Wix, WordPress, or Mobilize. And I would be structure everything to go towards that goal. So I would sit and map out, okay, somebody's aware of me, they've seen my Facebook page, they need to engage with me. So they'll land on my web page. What do I want them to see first? It may be a pretty graphic, but that pretty graphic needs to serve a purpose towards moving them to the goal of making an appointment. So then I might put a button that says book appointment, but some people are going to miss that. They're going to want to read more. So what questions have past customers asked me that they really wanted to know before they trusted me enough with their business? And I would list out those questions and give answers to them. Depending on who your customer is and what their particular journey is, I would actually follow that journey through the website leading towards your goal. That kind of doesn't answer the question though, does it?
No, I think that's pretty clear. So what you should do next is, after you know who your avatar is, I'm just going to repeat what you said in different words and you tell me if I missed the mark, okay? So we can communicate this really clearly. So the goal, obviously, in business overall is to transact with customers in a profitable way. Yes. So you want to get the customer to a point where they buy from you multiple times, often, and you're selling stuff to them, you're adding value to them in a way where the business gets to retain a profit. And the reason why we need to make a profit in business is because that ensures that the viability of that business moving forward. Because if the business isn't growing, the other alternative is slow, or sometimes fast deterioration. There's no kind of staying the same position. So it's imperative that you make a profit in business. Absolutely. So that you can stay in business. Okay, so that's the end goal. So now we know what the end goal is, and we also know what the starting point is, which is who is your ideal customer. And what we need to do now is we need to kind of map the idea of how normal human relationships work so that we can have journey with that ideal customer from where they're aware of you to where they then, after a few interactions with you, transact with you. And then after a few interactions, or maybe the very next thing is where they do multiple transactions with you and they become a loyal customer. Absolutely. And then to the point where they refer their friends on. And I think Sam just made a really, really great comment here. Just because they're not your customers doesn't mean their friends couldn't get referred to by them seeing you an ad or something like that. So exactly right. So where people get refer other people onto your business. So it becomes like a circle. Absolutely. Yes. So what should you do next after you've designed your ideal customer? You should map out that loosely map out in your mind, or at least on paper, what the journey looks like, and then go, okay, what do I need to build first? Probably a good place to start is to set up a website and at least one social media channel. That would be the next practical thing to do. Would you agree?
Sure. Yes. And we've talked about that through the customer value journey quite a lot over our Get It Done in Business series, where that is the mappable process. It's the customer value journey. You can Google it, and it documents that. Go from stranger to somebody who loves your business and drags their mother by her ear into the front door, and how you map that out.
Awesome. So just if you haven't seen our Get It Done in Business series yet, it has aired for a few, like I think 3 or so weeks. I can't remember. Time goes so quickly.
Up to 3 now.
But we do have it available on our Facebook page, and it's a series. So you can actually go and watch every episode. They're very short. It's 8 minutes on average, and you can go and watch the different episodes and start with episode number 1 because they build on each other. Cool. Okay. So please feel free to ask more questions. We love these questions coming. So the next question that I have for you is, Kaleb, so what if people they're on social media, they have a website, but it's not working? They have the stuff there, but it's not giving them a result. They're not actually engaging with anyone, or they're not getting people to transact with them in the end. What is that about? What do we do?
My first thought was that something somewhere within their customer value journey is broken. Either they're not working towards the right avatars, which is entirely possible, or they're asking for a sale way too quickly, and it's coming across like a creepy 1990s car salesman who's saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. If you go straight from somebody becoming aware of you to a hard sell, you're going to lose a lot of customers in there. So I would sit down and I would actually really map out of is this content what my customer wants to hear at this point in time in their journey? If I'm making hard sales on Facebook and it's not working, I would step it back down and just share advice. I would try to add value to people. So if I was a spa cleaning place, I would talk about how I clean spas. What's the process for this so people could actually do it themselves? Adding education or value is what I would break back down to and seeing where it goes from there.
So I see people making two mistakes, and it really links to what you're saying. There are two mistakes that people make online that prevents them from getting a result. And when I say the word result, what I mean is getting their customers to engage with them and ultimately transact with them. So the first mistake is to try the hard sell. So you're posting offers all the time. You say, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. And that's what you just said. The other mistake is to add content and add value all the time. So, inspirational things, how-to things, but never actually ask for a sale. So never post an offer. So the ideal is in between, where you're adding value, but you're also asking, putting offers out there. And the ideal ratio for that is 5-to-1. So for every 5 value adding posts, you should have one post where you say, hey, today we have this thing that you can purchase from us, and it's on special, or it has this special feature, or it actually makes what we've been teaching you easier for this reason. And so if you don't ask for the sale, no one's going to just go, oh, I think I should give that business some of my money because they've been adding really great value to me. And no one's going to go, oh, that person who is trying to hard sell me all the time, I really want to engage with them. So you've got to get the ratio just right.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I have to ask, think about this. Like, if you're doing this 5-to-1, and then when you do that 1, where do you sit on the prospect of people discounting for that?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think anyone who gives any kind of, who knows a little bit about business will always say, oh, try not to discount, even though I know that I'm contradicting myself. I just said discount there. Try not to discount, always try and value add. But it really, okay, let me phrase it to you this way. Make a super compelling offer. So the way in which you can make a super compelling offer is to value add with things that are really valuable but don't cost you much as a business owner, so that you're selling something for $100 that's really worth $1,000. So it's such a compelling offer. People want to take you up on that offer. So it's not necessarily a discount, but what it really is it's giving you way more than it's giving the customer way more than the money that you're charging. But you're doing it in a smart and resourceful and creative way so that it's still a profitable transaction for the business. That's how I would answer that question.
Solid. Thank you.
Cool. Oh, please ask more questions, people. I'm here with the amazing Kaleb Roberts from Get Australia Online, and together we're speaking about all things digital. How and why should you be online? What should you build first? What should you do if you're not getting much traction with your customers, if you are online? And my next question is, what is SEO and how does that work? If we're talking about websites, what is SEO?
So SEO is search engine optimization. It's by using SEO strategically, you can actually move your listing on Google and you can work your way up the chain. So when somebody says Tire Fitter Rockhampton, you're now number 1 or number 3 instead of being on the next page. Because 95% of people are not going to make it to the second page of Google. We're going to look at that first one. It's important because you want to be on top. And doing it is, I'm not the best specialist in the world at it, but from what I understand, it's using certain keywords throughout your website. And even if you're on WordPress, you can actually put in what's called a meta description in the back end side of your images. And you describe them using those keywords. So Google's little crawlers, as they go through your website, can recognize this is a blanket. This is a blanket. They're talking about a blanket here. They're describing another blanket here. Here's how to fold a blanket. And they know holistically your site is about blankets. And then they know your geography already because you've listed it with Google. So they now know you have all of these keywords and that you're the blanket expert in Rockhampton. So let's pull you up to the ranks. And that's why it's important.
Nice, nice. Yeah, absolutely. I think we mentioned in one of our series that people should actually Google themselves. Like you should go to Google Chrome, start a new incognito window.
Shift Command N.
Shift Command N, and you should Google the service that you actually sell or the product that you sell and see what comes up, see where you are on the Google rankings, and go and experience your website as a customer. That's a really good thing to do. Now, hey, Steve, thank you for watching. Great that you've joined us. Thank you so much. Ask questions if you have any questions about being online or digital marketing in general. And then there's a question from Sam for you, Kaleb. Who are your idols and mentors or mentors?
That's an excellent question. So my idols / mentors, idols are usually either mythological people or people from fiction, such as Jean-Luc Picard of Star Trek fame. I was always a really big fan, or really early Arctic and Antarctic explorers. So actually, Roald Amundsen, right? You can't see my book.
The book even disappears.
But essentially, I really look up to the early being in the late 1800s to early 1900s, people who went across the Arctic to find the North Pole and the South Pole. Robert Falcon Scott was a huge influence because of the way he died. He exemplifies leadership. He died holding his men, taking care of them to the very last breath. He did everything he could, as far as I could ever imagine, to take care of those people. And that is leadership to me, and that's really important. My mentors right now is a guy named David Bartholomew's, and he's a head of training for what's called Entrepreneurs Organization. And the guy is wickedly smart. And the characteristics I really look for when I'm trying to find a mentor or somebody to look up to is really strong self-discipline, because I feel like that's an area that I lack at, and something I'm always trying to develop. Because with self-discipline and keep pushing through, things hurt, but you can learn, you can grow, you can evolve. And finding people who've really taken their life from life gave them one bowl of something and said, here you go, this is for you. And they went and handed it back and said, no, thank you. I don't want that. I'm going to create for myself. And there's just different historical figures and different fictional characters who all fit through that.
Nice. Yeah. And do you think it's important to have mentors?
Completely. Just like a customer looking for a business can't become aware of you and can't engage with you, and therefore your business can't grow because nobody's aware. I can't grow as a person, as a partner, as a father, as a business owner, without other people showing me what's possible. Mentors are almost like a form of Google search that they say, this is what you want, this is what's possible. You need to do 1, 2, 3, all the way to 99 to get there. Let's make a move. And they critique and help you grow. Nice. I think mentors have been a very key to everything I've done.
Perfect. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate the fact that you're watching today, and thank you for your question. So the question from Robert is, I've heard that you should update the content and your website fairly regularly to keep it ranking high in Google. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you should always keep it as fresh as possible. Fresh as possible could be once a quarter, once a year. That's fine. It does affect your rankings in Google because customer behavior will change. So you need to change with that, because if you're static, you're just not going to evolve through time. But I don't think it's not something you need to obsess over on a daily or weekly or even monthly basis.
Yeah, cool. I have a bit of experience here that I can share around updating your website. So I think it is important for SEO, for search engine optimization. If you don't update semi-regularly, then your SEO definitely will drop for 100%. And that's what happened to my personal website. So my website used to rank up high on the top of page 1 for searches for the industry that I'm in. And because I have neglected my website, I think I'm on page 3 or something now. And I don't know if everyone's heard the not so funny joke, where do you hide a body if you're a murderer? On the page 3 of Google, because no one ever looks there. So yes, you have to update the content on your website. You definitely do.
Yours?
Well, as I just said, I haven't updated it.
You still haven't? Okay, I was looking at you.
Hence why I'm now where all the dead bodies are. Anyway, hey John, how are you? Nice for you to join us. We really appreciate it. Ask us any questions, anything digital marketing or online presence related. I'm here with Kaleb and we're answering questions. So Kaleb, let's go back to our questions. Okay. I have all of the digital marketing channels set up, but I'm still not getting any customers. We actually dealt with that before, right? I think I asked that question. Okay, so I'm investing $20,000 into a website. Why on earth is it so expensive?
Website developers, SEO specialists, anybody who's really niche into their field is expensive because they've spent a lot of time studying that field. They are exactly the same as a boilermaker who works on only one particular type of bulldozer that he's studied his entire career just to do that. These guys have done the exact same thing, but instead of getting, or guys and gals, sorry, but these people have, instead of getting their hands dirty in the field in a shed, they've actually spent it on the laptop really getting good at that one thing. So they charge a lot, and I think it's entirely fair that they charge a lot. It's quality and expensive often go hand in hand, though not all the time.
And I think the other thing to remember is that it's an investment that you're making in your business in the same way as you would invest to get a lease for a property. So it really is like your actual building in the real world is. Your website is like that online. And so how much do you spend every year paying your lease versus how much do you spend getting a website developed? And so you can kind of think about it in that way. And how much would you spend on maintaining your property and updating it, cleaning it, keeping it fresh, keeping it nice so that when your customers come and visit you or come into your shop or come into your business, that they can feel like you have doing a quality job. That's a really good analogy for how much you should be spending on your website. And then, of course, you measure with a real life bricks and mortar business. Of course, you measure whether you're making a profit, even though you're cleaning your premises and you're keeping it up to date and you're paying the rent, etc. And you should do the exact same with your website. You should measure whether you get a return on that investment. And so you should get really good at knowing how to structure a website so that you can ensure that you do get a return.
I think it's important to note too, please never spend $20,000 on the very first version of your website.
Yeah.
If you don't have a validated service or product, if you don't have people who are screaming to come after this, please don't spend $20,000. Spend a weekend yourself, learn Wix, learn WordPress, a couple bottles of wine, and just focusing, you can learn a lot. And those mistakes and those things you're going to learn and get frustrated with and then keep learning at will be invaluable going forwards when you do want to speak to a designer and a developer and you are ready to spend that 20 grand. And you also will have that validation that you have customers who actually want to pay for your service as well.
That is absolutely, absolutely key. One thing that I do think about the online world and digital marketing world is that it's another different field of study. And the best thing you can do is to master this field of study and to really get your head around how it works so that when you do engage a professional, you know what to ask for, you know what will work, you know how to speak the professional's language, and you know how to get a good result because you have done some research, maybe even just watched a few YouTube videos about and read a few Google articles or articles that you've Googled around how to set up a good website, what it needs to do, how does it work, you know, how does digital marketing work. There is so much information online, so many inexpensive courses you can do, upskill yourself in this area. It's very important. Hey, Karen, hey, Toby, thanks for joining us. Please ask any questions. We are throwing questions at Mr. Kaleb Roberts, and he's doing a stellar job in answering them for us. So please ask more questions. So Kaleb, if you have your website and you've set up a channel, how do you produce content? How do you know what to post and when to post?
I like to talk to my customers a lot, my clients that I work with. I want to know, what do they find annoying? What do they find intriguing? Like, just sit around and talk to them like normal people. And often there's a pattern behind 3 or 4 of them will have this one problem. And maybe it's that they can't get something to work on their website. Maybe it's that they're just really struggling getting more people in their door, but they'll have a common problem. And if I'm writing content, I now know that a good portion of my client base has these issues. So let me write pieces of content that directly address that. Let me educate them. And to be honest, quite often I don't have the answers, but I know how to find the people who do. I know the questions to ask. I can work with them. I can communicate between this person and that person. And I can say, okay, this is what you do. That's the steps. I now understand that. I can take that into the content and deliver it to them with whatever they need. And I try to do that really regularly.
Nice. I like that. Another question from Sam. Thanks, Sam. You're awesome. How do you feel about blanket posting, also known as posting the same content across all the digital platforms? I personally like to see short but technical on LinkedIn and more personal and casual on Facebook. What do you reckon?
I'll confess I've been guilty of blanket posting and I don't recommend it. It's not a solid strategy because people want different things from different channels. And so if you're giving a gray blanket that says blah to all of them, odds are that it's not going to really hit them at their heart or at their core. And that was a lesson that I learned personally from doing that. So please take the time, customize your content, make it right for that audience. It's worth the extra half hour. It's worth the extra cup of coffee. Please do.
Yeah, especially the distinction that Sam's making is a really important one. LinkedIn is a very professional platform, and Facebook and Instagram are more casual, and you cannot post the same content really on both of those, or on those three platforms. It just doesn't work. The audiences and the expectations are just so different.
There are no funny cat videos on LinkedIn.
Well, if there are, they all get booed.
Yeah, pretty much.
People get pretty upset when they see casual content on LinkedIn. They do not like that at all. Not at all. And don't use it as a dating site.
No, no, you should not use LinkedIn as a dating site.
Do not do that, even though I think some people have a go.
That is the wrong channel for your audience.
Wrong channel. Okay, so I think there's one thing that we do need to include in our discussion, which we haven't mentioned this far, and it's the word email. So email is a really interesting way of communicating with our customers. How does email feature into everything?
So the way I personally use emails is that my goal of my website is to get an email contact. I try to offer value for that. Using an email address, you can enter into a campaign. You can start communicating with this person directly. They have actively said, hey, company, I trust you. I believe in you enough to give you my personal information. Please be careful with it. It's your responsibility then to provide really good quality education back, or something that adds value to them. And usually these come in 3-part series where you have introductory, you have some content, and then you have a closing or an ask for a sale. But you can be really creative with that. And those email addresses give you future points you can send sales to. You can send them education, new products, new asks. You can now talk to them one-on-one, which is really, really cool. That's a very, very important thing to get if you can.
I think a really good point to make too is that if you have big audiences on these different digital marketing channels, it's important to remember that Facebook owns your audience. You don't own your audience. So if for any reason Facebook were to shut you down, you lose that audience immediately. Where if you had a database with all of your customers or your audience, your tribe, the people who are in your community, if you had a database with all of their contact details, or even just their names and their email addresses, if you were to get shut down by Facebook, Instagram, whatever, then you could still communicate with those people. So it's really important not just to rely on the fact that you might have, this many thousand people who like you on Facebook. Not that the number of likes mean as much as it used to in the past, but it's really important not to rely on that, and to create some kind of strategy where you get people to opt into a mailing list where you're then able to have a chat to them via their emails, as opposed to just getting them on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or so forth. And there are also apps that you can download that will scrape that information out of those digital marketing platforms so that you can add it to your database. You have to also please read the spam laws of Australia. I forget what the act is called, but really important to check what it means to send spam. You are not allowed to email anyone in Australia if they haven't given you explicit permission to do so. So don't just email someone. It's actually against the law. What do you think, Kaleb? I've
I was trying
lost
to
you.
just, no, I was trying to think
You have
about
a
what that
blank
spam
stare.
as I look into the blurred windows in front of me, I'm going, what is that damn law called? Because we
What is
talked
it
about
called?
it.
It's the act of something. Robert will be able to tell us, but let's
Probably
ask
could.
Robert. Let's read Robert's question instead. Okay, great to have you presenting your knowledge. When developing information for a page, where there could be a massive amount of content presented and photos, Google seems to like at least 300 words before it will rank the page. But do you have any thoughts about say, a magic combo of content and photos, or a suggested limit of the number of words? Oh, that's a technical one. That's for you, Kaleb.
That is a very technical one. And the raw truth is, no, I don't have some magic combination. I try to put in something that an average Joe who sat down in my chair and looked at this for the first time would appreciate, which sometimes is 300 words, sometimes it's 1,800, but it's depending on what you're wanting. And I know you're a legal firm. And so for you, I would throw in videos, photos, and words, but try different things. Your audience is going to be different to almost anything else out there. So try a 300 page, try a 600, try an 1,800, and just see what comes up.
Awesome. Thanks, Robert, for telling us it's the Spam Act. Awesome. I think, Robert, what we can, yeah, we should. What we can do, and I think what we will do, is just to reach out to our Google guru, who is someone in our community, Monty, and we'll ask him that same question and get back to you just on the comments on this post so that other people can see the answer too. So there might be a magic combo, but we'll get back to you on that question. Do we have any other questions, guys? We're coming to the end of our time together. I think we've been going for almost 40 minutes. Kaleb Roberts, what other questions are you often asked? What are the challenges that you see people in our community have regarding getting online?
The single biggest challenge I see people face is that they have an idea and then they want to build a huge, massive website. I've seen that time and time again, and they don't have any knowledge of how to build a website. They've maybe tried themselves or built something very small and rough, but they want to build it into this super complicated, super big thing. And quite oftentimes they've got the money, they've got the time, but I would, as a digital marketer, I want to actually push it back to them and say, no, validate your idea more, get more signups, do something as simple as create a landing page and just make sure people opt in on this, that they want what you're selling before you do that, because we can do those big, bold, beautiful websites, but you've got to walk before you can jump over poles. And these people, and it's happened a lot. And the expectation of shifting from tiny little website to, if I build something worth $20,000-$25,000 and then get all those customers just because that website is there, isn't true. Like, just because you build a $25,000 website does not mean the customers will come. You need to put in the work, the content, the creation, the enrollment, go through your customer value journey step by step before you get to that point.
Okay, so you used a few words there, including validate and landing page. Let's just define what those mean. Let's start with validate your idea. What does that mean?
So validating means that in your own head, all of your ideas are amazing. But to somebody else who's actually has their wallet in their hand and they want to give you money, it may not be the most amazing idea. Get their feedback, get what their thoughts are, figure out, are they saying it's really, really good, or are they saying it's terrible and you should absolutely never talk about this idea again? Understand exactly what different customers and different avatars that you can work on, right? Figure out who your audience is and do they like this product enough to give you money in exchange for it.
Okay, so basically it's testing in the most inexpensive manner possible to get some real data and feedback from your market, the people who are potentially your customers, on whether they actually like what you think they'll like. That there's validation, and you can do that by the most inexpensive way is really to see if you can just give them a phone call and see if you can transact over the phone or get them to sign up to something. But a landing page is the way in which we do that online. So what's the difference between a website and a landing page?
A landing page is almost, think of like a single piece of paper. You start at the top and you work your way down, and at the bottom there's a very clear, very predominant next step. It could be subscribe for an email. It could be take our $4 course. It could be buy a brand new car. But that entire page is dedicated to getting that customer from the top to the next point of action. Whereas a website is a holistic network of things where each page is linked into other pages. There's multiple places the customer can go. They can learn more. They can do that. And though those next steps are still very clear throughout a website, the landing page is that express purpose of moving them through that customer value journey.
Cool. Melanie, thank you for watching. And my namesake, and Elise, Courtney said, it's not you that watching, it's another Elise. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm here with Kaleb Roberts. We're talking about getting businesses online, why to do that and how to do that, and then how to get customers to transact with you from this online presence. And really the bottom line is our customer behavior has changed so much that everyone is paying far more attention to their mobile devices and their iPads or their tablets and their computers than they used to. Well, and these devices are so new anyway. It's like 10 years old. It feels like we've had them forever, but we haven't. So it's really important to go where your customers are looking. And then what we've also discussed is that it's important to set up a website as the hub and then have all the social media channels almost like spokes of the wheel around this hub, and they refer to each other. And then it's important to ensure that your website is search engine optimized. And it's also important to have your customers take a journey with you so that you are value adding to them, you are creating a relationship with them where you're trusted and you become an advisor, and then you make compelling offers to them that they just can't say no to, and just keep that relationship going, which is called the customer value journey. You can Google it and see the whole journey easily, very, very clearly outlined. You can step them through that journey from where they become aware of you to where they become raving fans. You can also use email, and you should try and bring your customers into a bit of a database, and you should try and create community and manage the community very, very, very well, instead of just seeing your business as one-off transactional interactions, because the way in which we as human beings are interacting is changing.
I would wholeheartedly agree. And I think it's, as you're building your community, be very clear on what you believe your company is doing. Simon Sinek refers to this as the golden circle. There's an amazing TED talk about it. And people will follow you and your business for what it believes and how you demonstrate, how you give back to the community. But if you're just selling all the time, they may transact with you, but they're not going to repeatedly fall in love with you over and over again through the years.
I was just having a really interesting conversation about this yesterday with someone, and the thing that the insight that we came to is that it's so important that business, as the business, you need to be confident about your own identity and who you are and what it is that you stand for, and understand that you will not be everybody's cup of tea, but the people who will love you deeply if you are confident in what you do. You still have to be responsive and empathetic, as well as being confident, being responsive and empathetic towards your customers. But it's important that you portray a confident image online. I think that's key, because no one likes a needy person. No one likes, please buy from me, please buy from me, please like me, please like me. That's the opposite of what we should be portraying.
Actually, it's a really good point that there have been, when people very first get into business the first time, it seems terrifying to transact, to actually say, somebody's going to pay me money for this. It's terrifying. And I still feel that sometimes, but you've got to have that confident face. You're exactly right. And God, I wish I'd learned that sooner. To be confident and know, this is what I charge, this is why, this is how it's going to work, and have a plan of, this is how we're going to deliver our services.
Yeah. And I think that links to something that's also really important to touch on, is that it's all good and well to do digital marketing amazingly and to have a great website, even to have a beautiful bricks and mortar place. But if you can't deliver what it is that you're promising people, then that's an issue as well. So ensure that the actual delivery of your product and service is to the highest quality. Just actually love your customers enough to do a good job. That's super, super, super important.
Very much so.
Daniel,
they're all very clear on what you're giving as well.
Pardon?
I was just thinking that I've had more than a few where I did not explain what I was giving and what was going to happen first. And though I love that customer and I gave them everything I had, they understood something different. So setting that expectations really clearly, and even if you have a contract that just says, I'm delivering you 1, 2, and 3, that way they know exactly what they're getting, and something that's in writing, not necessarily just verbal. And that has been a painful lesson for Kaleb to learn.
We live and learn, Kaleb, don't we? Hey, Daniel, thank you so much for watching. You are just in time to see us say goodbye. Kaleb, do you have any parting words of wisdom?
I think my parting words of wisdom would have to be to just keep moving forwards. There are going to be days and weeks you feels like everything you're doing online, nothing is working, nothing is engaging, people aren't picking up, you're going to feel like customers aren't coming to you, and it's going to feel like hell. And I think if you just have that consistency to keep showing up and doing the work, it's going to be okay. As long as people are still, you're getting validation, people are still saying, hey, I believe in you, I trust in you, here's my email, here's my credit card, whatever, transact. Keep doing your best to deliver the most amazing service you can, and be really thoughtful and personal if possible about your interactions with that customer, and just keep moving forwards.
100%. And keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning.
Always,
This is a
always.
fast-paced, fast-changing environment. Keep learning, get on the learning cycle. And one way to learn is to join us every Thursday for these Hub Lives. It's also another way to learn is to join us for our Get It Done in Business series. Just keep an eye on your email if you're on our subscriber list. If you're not, just put your email address in a private message to us and we'll definitely include you. We do email notifications out for our Get It Done in Business series, or you can keep your eye on our Facebook page. I'm learning that Facebook is only organically delivering to about 2% of our audience. So please switch on the follow notes or the notifications on our site so that you actually get notified when we post stuff, which we do all the time. And, and we're hoping that you can see those and find this really useful in terms of learning. Also, if there is a topic that you'd like us to cover in these Hub Lives specifically, please feel free to reach out to us. We do aim to provide the most amount of value that we possibly can, and to be very, very relevant with what we talk about and what we look at and what we share. So please reach out to us via private message. Mr. Kaleb Roberts, Get Australia Online, thank you so much for more of your time today. Much appreciated. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next Thursday.